Right, the lock washer has been knocked down. We have our cover with a new gasket which has been rotor sealed to the plate and then greased, which slides over like that. Gently presses on, lovely. Then we have 6 little screws to hold it in place, which I'll now do up and bring it back when that's done. Move on to the next bit. And then I found our woodruff key, which slots neatly in there. What it should do. Just tap the front end outside. Right, and then our pre-prepared basket. Comes along in one piece. Let me just arrange it. Right, so that's upright, so that's upright. So let's give it a go. Nope. Try this one. Nope, miles away. Right. I'm going to have to go in front of you, so I'll turn you off and I'll bring you back. You can see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to line up that at the same time as sliding that on. Right. So as you can see, I've now got them on each, and because I've got the, well, I think I've got the woodruff key lined up with the slot, that should just all push on together, which it does. Lovely. Lovely. Right, so from there, did that go there? Yes, it did. From there, we have to build up the clutch. The alternator parts are not with me yet, but I can build a clutch up, which I'll go and find the parts for now. Right, the clutch centre's got to go on, which is here with its 3 bolts. So that fits on its little locating splines. Or not, as the case may be. Strange. Why that doesn't want to go on. Right, I've got to put my head in front of you, I'm afraid, to find out why that's not sliding on. Right, there we are. I just couldn't get it started on the spline. It's always easier when you're looking straight at something. Unfortunately, the camera is up there and my head would have to be here. So, there we go. That's it on. Okay, the clutch centre's on. And then there's a spacer, which you saw me pop on there by mistake earlier. Don't know what I was thinking about, but anyway, there's a spacer. And then our locking nut. Okay, it wasn't seated fully on its spline before I put the nut on. So anyway, the washer's in, the nut's on, torqued up. So then it's fit the plates, which we have to one side. Now, before we do the clutch, I just need to check something. The clutch plates, it doesn't actually say to oil them. Normally you just have to submerge them I would have thought, in most wet clutch bikes. I didn't actually mention it. There's plenty of wear left on the friction material, so I'm just going to dampen them with oil, just to stop them sticking whilst the rest of it is all being assembled. So you have friction alternating with plain metal. The plain metal plates are all in excellent condition, unmarked, no bluing, unworn, just really good nick. So I'm just going to build them up just like that, one after another, alternating between friction and plain metal, and I'll bring you back when I put them all in. Right, that's them all in. It's properly lubricated. Then we have our clutch cover and 3 cups. It should fit through there. There we go. That's 1, 2. Let's line up our little nipples. There's little nipples which line up with the holes in the slots, I should say, in the cover. And then we have our oh, you stupid fool. Right, okay. Guess what I forgot again this time? I really am dim. Clutch push rod, which I have greased. There's witness marks for a ball at that end. So that goes in there like that. Get rid of the excess grease. Right. Refit our cover. Like so. Get our little slots and notches lined up again. Yep. Then our springs. Then our nuts. And as I mentioned when I was taking these apart, there is a special screwdriver for this, but ours was so high up that the bolt head didn't protrude through, so I will just take them down level and then we'll do the clutch adjustment later. So that's just below the thread, which is where it was when it came off. These have all got to be even. Just below the thread. As I said, we'll check this for alignment and wobble when we get a kickstart and things on. So we don't need to do it just yet. Just below the thread, just below the thread, just below the thread. Right, that'll do for an initial setting. We can check that later. So, I haven't got my stator and rotor, as I said before. But what we can fit is our adjuster for the that went on there like that, I think, yeah. So that needs adjusting up, which, if you remember, was adjusted there, locked up there, so I'll do that. But I've got to put my head down here. So again, I'm just going to wind that in until I get the right tension on that. In fact, I'm not going to do that yet. Cancel that. I might as well wait till the rotor's on and that's also tightened up, and then do it. So we shall move on to something else. The stator's turned up. a Lucas item. I don't imagine it's made in Britain, to be honest, even though it's got a Lucas name, but I don't really know. Is there anything on the box? No, there's not. I think Lucas stuff is mainly sourced abroad now. I'm not really that bothered as long as it works. There we are. Now, there is one teensy-weensy little problem. Because I never bother reading the workshop manuals, because I'm an idiot, frankly, when I did finally get around to looking at the manual for something else, I discovered that they advise fitting the clutch itself and the front sprocket after the stator's in place, because it's awkward to fit otherwise. It's awkward to fit the wiring otherwise. Of course, I haven't done that. My chain and primary chain and everything else is already in place because I didn't have this at the time. So I'm sure I will now have a merry dance trying to fit this through the chain into place, or fit the wiring through the chain into place and get everything secure. But that's my own fault. I deserve all I get because I didn't bother reading the manual. Anyway, we should do that in 1 second. Stator is on. I haven't tied it down yet, but it's on. The wire goes through a hole at the back here and pokes up here to join these, which all sounds nice and straightforward. But the reason you haven't got a video of me doing it is I started doing it and it turned out to be an absolute pain in the doodah. First up, the wire wouldn't pass through the stator wire, the main black one sleeved, wouldn't pass through the eyelet cleanly. So I then taped the ends down, made a nice little cone shape, Vaselined it, then it would pass through, but would only go in a short distance or it jammed. So I then tried using a draw wire by passing electrical wire through first and taping the stator wire to the electrical wire to try and draw it through. It kept coming apart because it was too tight. So on closer inspection, the new stator had a rubber sleeve at the end of the hard plastic wire. The hard plastic wire, thereby only leaving a small amount of proper electrical connection sticking out. So I reasoned that this was in fact what was causing the problem, so I removed it. Life became slightly easier, but still wouldn't pass through. So, in the end, after a huge amount of faffing about, I had to cut one of the bullets off the end of the new stator, remove the plastic sleeve, use a draw wire, and Vaseline the outer sleeve, all to try and get this thing to come through, which eventually it has. So now I'm going to have to solder a bullet connector on the end of the wire to connect up properly, which is, really depressingly bad. It should have been fairly straightforward. There's no reason for it to be that difficult. I think the main reason is this sleeving that's been fitted to this alternator is too loose and too rigid. I think that's part of the problem. So it doesn't hold the wires together tight enough, which allows them to twist, which they are at the minute slightly, which I'll do something about in a minute. They should be tighter together, which would allow the passage through the hole much, much easier. The rubber boot, which I've replaced with an aftermarket one, the hole was too small. I had to open that out to make it fit inside there. And finally, the metal clip, which I had to deform to get out, is not currently available. So I had to reshape it, and it's now in place. I got it in despite it being tight with this all being like this, which is why the manual says do it a different way. But anyway, none of what I did would have been any easier, I think, with the chain out of the way. It wasn't difficult, access wasn't limited. It was a problem with this new stator and its sleeving. So, a monumental pain, but done, finally. As I say, I will try and twist these round a bit, try and get it a bit neater. I don't like the 90-degree bend out of there, but that's how the original was. So that's how it's going back together. So there you go. What a pain. But it's on. And frankly, that's enough for today. I'm just sick of the sight of the thing now. I'm just going to tidy my tools up and go and vegetate in front of the telly. I bought some low compression pistons for two reasons. One, my right hip is in less than perfect condition, shall we say. Therefore, kicking over high compression bikes isn't my idea of fun anymore, sadly, but there you go. And secondly, with the state of modern petrol, if I want to use pump fuel, straightforward supermarket stuff, low compression will make the engine run a little bit more easily, I think. I'm hoping anyway. It should certainly help reduce the risk of detonation and stuff like that. So as you can see, the only real difference is the hump has gone on the original 9-to-1s. These are 7.5-to-1s, I think. Let me find out. Yeah, 7.5-to-1s, which I think are ideal. They've come with the rings already fitted. The gudgeon pins are super tight. I'm going to have to get the hot air gun on them to get them out. And they've also come with some proper circlips. Hooray! None of your bent bit of wire rubbish. You've got proper circlips with proper eyes, which is a good thing. So I'll get the gudgeon pin out and then I'll put them in the barrels, because I intend, well, I'll show you that near the time. I'll show you what I intend doing near the time, but that's the pistons anyway, they'll come. Let's move out a little bit. The pistons are now in. Rings are set at 120 degrees as you'd expect. I just squeezed them in by hand because I'm not sure when you'll be viewing this. It will be a lot later than today's date, that's for sure. And the lockdown is in full blow at the minute. Everything's clamped down, so I can't get to my other place of work to get my ring compressors. But it doesn't matter, they went in by hand, it's not a problem. The barrels have been lightly dusty with a bit of aerosol heat dispersant paint. They were in fact in very good condition anyway, really, but a quick squirt just to make them look a bit better. Now the gudgeon pins were really tight. They have got some sort of preserving oil on them, which I'll have to clean off, which I think may have been causing part of the problem, but they do seem very, very tight. So I'll probably have to heat the pistons whilst I push them in. The inner circlip on both sides is already fitted. So the plan is, I'll show you the setup if it'll work, is to prop the barrels up, which will allow me to fit the pistons onto the conrods and then slide the whole lot down onto the studs. That's the theory. We shall see how well that works out. I will put some assembly lube on the lobes of the lifters. And then the other thing, which I'll just mention, because somebody mentioned it to me, when I fit pistons, I just lube the bore and then wipe an oily finger around the rings. And to be honest, I've never had any problems, touch wood, with anything not wanting to bed in or taking too long or anything. Having said that, no doubt this will now go wrong. But normally I don't have any problems. A friend of mine who has been doing the job for many, many years, he absolutely floods the rings with oil, which I don't like doing because I think it could carbonise behind them. But anyway, he does that. And he's also never had any problems. And then you'll see theories on the internet about fitting various bits of them dry and arguing which is the best way around, etc., etc. So the answer, I think, is no one really knows. From personal experience, this works. So does flooding it with loads of oil, it works. I'm not aware of any comebacks on any of those methods. So really, it's choose the one you fancy. So there you go, that's the way I do it. I'm quite happy to continue doing it that way, and I shall continue doing it that way. So the next shot, hopefully you'll see this in place, ready to fit the gudgeon pins. Hopefully. Right, unfortunately the original plan of fitting the pistons into the barrels and then sliding them down and pushing the gudgeon pins into place hasn't worked, because the gudgeon pins are so tight that trying to line everything up on my own and get them in place without doing any damage is proving impossible. So I'm going to now try the BSA workshop method, which is to prop the pistons up and lower the barrels onto them, which again is going to be slightly difficult without piston ring compressors. So I'm going to give it a go, but this job may have to wait until I get some ring compressors. I have done it without on Triumphs, I've done it without on single cylinder bikes, obviously, two-stroke twins, a two-stroke triple in fact. But this barrel is very heavy and very awkward and difficult to manoeuvre on your own. So anyway, I shall give it a go and just see what happens.